The day is June 4th, 2020. The setting is the Millet Cemetery, and the event is the funeral and burial for my cousin, Beverly Bohl Sandquist Allbee. I'm using Bev's funeral service as the introduction to an interview I did with Bev on May 5th, 2015, when she was a very spry 86-year-old. Bev and my mother, Marlis Matthew Evans, were first cousins, their mothers, Mildred and Gladys, being sisters. Not only were Bev and Mom first cousins, you could say they were also first friends from early childhood until the day my mother passed away on January 30th, 2009. I have nothing but fond memories of Bev, starting with my being the ring bearer for her marriage to Donald Sandquist, back when I was polite and well-mannered. My good behavior apparently didn't last long, because soon thereafter I was ring bearer for my Uncle Jim's marriage to Janice White. And Janice's mother thought I deserved a spanking when I refused to rehearse because I was already very experienced in the ring bearer business. In spite of outside influences, Bev always treated me as though she liked me. On several of my birthdays, Bev made me delicious Lincoln log cakes from scratch. She sewed and altered costumes for some of my stage plays, and she even invited me to sing with the Brentford Trio on occasion, especially when they wanted someone to sing bass on one of their signature songs, Do Lord. Welcome to a trip down memory lane with Bev. Hello, Bev.
What all have you got there?
Oh,
It's like you're going camping.
Well, suppose a little bit warmer, maybe.
Go in.
Well,
You're almost right on the dot.
better get my shoes off here.
Oh, no, you don't have to. I don't worry about mine. I always figured floors are meant to walk on.
At least it's not raining here.
Well, it must have rained just a few minutes ago. It's a lot wetter. I was reading a book waiting for you to come, and I looked up and I said, my God, it's a lot wetter than it was when I started this book.
Okay. Well, it was a lot wetter in Aberdeen, I'll tell you that. But, so.
It's you've been here before, you haven't you?
I have.
This is my latest project.
Okay.
I'm not through yet. I've got to trim that. But Trevor Bohl helped me with it. He tore the cupboards out and put the shelves up, and
Oh, good.
we got to patch and fix them. But they're tacky cupboards. I didn't mind tearing them out at all. And I've got plenty of empty space, so I don't worry about it.
I've got some pictures I want you to look at and stuff. So I don't know if you want to sit at a table or. And I got a photo album.
You need to spread them out. More pictures, huh? I'm hoping you'll take that suitcase full of pictures, Rod.
Well, I can, I guess.
Do you know who? I don't think Dawn and Myrna have seen those pictures yet, have they?
I don't know, but I'm going to see them this weekend. So.
Well, I hear Blair's getting married.
Yep.
In Powell.
Yep.
Okay. That's this weekend?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
It is. Well, I'll bet you know who that is, don't you?
Well, I'm not sure. It just looks like a tornado struck. Trees are bare, broken.
Well, it's just winter.
Oh.
It's just a winter shot.
Looks like Gladys, but it looks like my mother too. So I think,
Well, you're close. It's your cousin.
oh, that's Marlis?
Yep.
Man, it looks. Were we that little bit?
So yeah.
The other night, the music contest programs up here have been just superb. Beautiful music. And the last one was junior high, middle school. And so two of my relatives, well, Gavin Bohl and Hayden Bohl were in a, and Gavin and Miranda Thorson played a trumpet duet, Blue Skies by Irving Berlin. And I remember that was still, he wrote it in 1926, but it was still popular in the 40s when we were teens, and it's a classic now.
Oh, yeah.
But they did a beautiful job of it. Oh, I just sat there, because I could remember most of the words, so I sat there just kind of mentally singing to
Sure.
myself. Yeah, wow.
So I guess that must be the store over here. Probably.
Okay. I thought there was a bank across the street, though.
Well, there would be. See, here's a Chevrolet sign.
Oh,
So
my
that
God.
would be. Who had Chevrolet?
I don't remember an auto dealer being in Brentford at all.
I assume that's Brentford, because Gladys is standing there.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see.
And I could tell just by the way she was standing.
Yeah, I've never seen this picture before. Look at that old car.
Unless that's not Brentford.
Are you sure it is Brentford?
I'm not positive.
It just nothing looks familiar. This, these buildings. The closest thing to a dealership would have been Frank Woodard's garage down, and I forgot what he sold.
International.
Yeah, he sold, but he didn't sell automobiles, did he? Or
I don't think so.
I don't remember that he did.
I don't believe so, because the only automobile dealerships that were advertised in the yearbooks was here in Millette and Oberle.
Yeah, Oberle's, yeah.
Oberle Garage.
Now, so in that suitcase, some of those old newspaper clippings showed a dealer in Condé, but I can't tell you what. Some of those makes that already didn't exist for long.
Well, I know Oberle had DeSoto,
Yeah.
I believe, and I think Nash. Somebody had a Nash.
Oh,
And then there's one other too that's not went out shortly after that.
yeah.
But
Yeah, there's a picture, a nice ad from a Condé dealer, and a picture of the car. And I even mentioned it in a messenger column that I did. How you could get such a nice car for $500 or whatever.
Yep.
Now, where did you come by these pictures?
some of them were in that suitcase.
Oh, okay.
Some of them were in Gladys's stuff.
Yeah.
And then some I don't even know how I came by.
I had a family get together here. I can't even remember what the occasion was anymore, but Connie Steiner came down from Britain, and she went through, and I think she took a couple of pictures that had KO in.
Okay.
And, different ones found a picture that meant a lot to them, and I thought it was thing to do is let them have it if it meant something to them. And
Yep. Yep. Mainly wondering, I see this rabbit hunt.
oh yeah,
I think this is.
oh my God, look at the rabbit.
I think 1919.
Here's the market back here. They must be getting ready to butcher a rabbit.
That's what I was wondering. You know what market that would have been?
Probably, well, I know that Grandpa Bohl had a meat market at one time, and then a guy named Ole, now Bob would have remembered the last name. I can barely remember him. He looked like a butcher. He was short and stocky, and Ole something.
But your Grandpa Bohl had that, huh?
He had a meat market at one time because my dad worked there, and he said, Dad said, never eat a wiener, he said, because we just scraped the leavings off the floor and made them into wieners. You never eat one.
Okay, well, you should know. So which bowl is that? Or EG bowl or?
Yeah.
EG bowl.
Yeah. I don't know how long he had it. I think he kind of bought and sold. Boy, I wish I could remember Ole's last name. He's probably buried out in the Brentford Cemetery.
But I don't remember an Ole out there at the cemetery, though.
Oh, I haven't. I've been wanting to go there and look around. Okay.
I was just there last week, and
Oh, really?
I took pictures of all the graves
Oh, how neat.
out there, and that's kind of. I'm surprised that there are so few graves there. I thought there would be a bunch of old
Oh,
graves.
that's what I always thought.
And
What did they do with those guys?
I don't know. A few of them are in Millette,
Yeah.
but maybe a lot of them went back home, to Illinois. And
But a lot of those old bachelors that lived there had no family, or I just wonder where Ole Mercer was one.
Oh, Ole Mercer, is that the one that had the store then?
No,
Nope.
I don't know what he did. He just lived in a little shack when I was a kid.
Okay.
Oh man, well, so we're gonna have rabbit stew.
So which side of Main Street would that meat market, your grandpa's meat market, have been?
It'd been on the east side.
The block down by the bank then, or
Okay, and then, yeah, Grandpa Bohl, I don't think he owned the bank. I think he was the vice president or something, assistant. But I don't think he ever outright owned the bank. I've got a picture in here, a little one. Doesn't show very much. This is Mother standing in front of the bank, which I'm sure EG had a partnership in or whatever, so it was evidently the American State Bank. And there were two banks in Brentford, and this one is one that folded during the Depression.
Yeah, 1930, that's the Farmers, and that was the one on the corner, right?
That I can't too, but it looks like
That's
it
Farmers,
was,
the Farmers State Bank.
yeah. It looks like it was a corner building.
Yeah. Then I think, two doors down was the other?
Well, let's see, would it even been that far? There's the grocery store and then another building where Ted Carlson had his business. And then it seemed like right across the street was one bank. And the other one must have been down just a few doors. Now this, I don't know where that was taken.
Yeah,
They can't even look at each other then.
Those are nice pictures, though. Yeah, very nice. Okay.
Well, must have been cold. The horses are shaggy.
Well, yeah, it was January.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, January 6th.
Yeah.
Oh, 1918. You don't recognize your grandpa there or anything?
I have a feeling he wasn't the hunter type. I don't think my dad was much of a hunter either. I just finished reading the book. Well, I don't know why. I've never read it before. All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, yeah.
Have you read it?
I think years ago.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Everybody should read it.
Yeah.
But as I read it, and it was written by, from the standpoint of a young German soldier, but it was basically the same as our boys, same feelings, same thoughts, same. But I realized where a lot of what my dad said and did is because of his experience there. It must have been just horrible. Beyond, he was a horse lover, and they said the screams of the injured horses was worse than human.
Yeah.
That he always harped when we complained about our food or so, when they were starving over there. And I can see where a lot of it came from. And I thought, man, if everybody read this book, there wouldn't be any more war. Because I remember Dad saying he never could see the sense of shooting at someone that looked just like him, blonde hair, blue eyes. He said they looked just like we did. What were we killing them for?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I was glad I read that book. It just happened to be in some books somebody loaned me, and I really got into it.
Well, good. Well, you might recognize somebody there.
Harness. That was probably, I wonder if that was Grandpa Bohl's business too.
Oh, the black?
What would this been, the grocery store? Does that look like groceries in the window? Somebody looking out the door.
Yeah, groceries or a bakery or
Yeah,
something.
nice buggy.
Do you know if the guy's in it?
Pardon?
You know the guy is in it?
No, I don't. You know, if somebody told me, oh yes, then now I know, but
I think that's Frank Swim.
oh, that's Grandpa, huh?
Yeah,
Boy. And then
Bill McCumsey.
he and Grandpa were good friends.
Okay. Okay. So does he look kind of like you remember him now?
I
Grandpa
never
Swim?
saw him, or I don't remember him ever looking like that, you know. But I can see now where.
Do you remember Bill McCumsey very well?
Oh
or-
yeah, Bill McCumsey, I do. He was a good friend of my dad's too, and then Harold McCumsey worked as a hired man for Dad for
Oh.
a time.
Okay. So that's okay. That would explain that connection then, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So
Well, in fact, when my brother Bob was just first getting to use the car, and we had a 1937 gray Chevy car sedan, and Bob, and it must have been a party at Brentford School. I was in the back seat, and he had either Harold McCumsey or the name escapes me right now, but another kid, Lenley. No, not Dwayne. Yeah, it wasn't Dwayne. One that dated your mother and was killed.
that was the Hopkins.
Yeah, Hopkins.
Dwayne
It might
Hopkins.
have been him. But we were just going around the corner where the school bus garages are. Around that corner, Bob was going too fast. We tipped over our nice car. You know, well, anyway, a bunch of guys came and tipped it back up. Didn't even get damaged too much. But my dad was just just furious, you know.
Yeah.
And Bill McCumsey came to my brother's aid. I remember him coming to the house. Now, Rob, you got to calm down. It could happen to anybody. Just an accident. Now, I can swear he wasn't going too fast. It was just, Bill was doing his best, but I think Bob still got probably what was coming to him.
So like that'd be Bud McCumsey's dad.
Yeah.
Would have been, wouldn't it?
Bud and Harold and Margaret.
Oh yeah, Sanders. Yeah.
And I don't know, my brother Bob thought it was kind of fun to tease him and poke fun at him. And
Well, Bobby was kind of a tease
yes,
to just about anybody.
yeah,
So
right.
yeah, I made a big mistake by not going out and recording some of his stories.
Oh,
I mean, you know, and I think now
oh
I've
yeah,
never known a storyteller quite like
Yeah.
him.
Huh.
He had
Yeah,
stories on everybody.
yeah. He had a good mind for detail.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, you don't know if everything's true or not, but it sure sounds true, and
Oh yeah,
he has so much fun telling the stories.
yeah.
Well, this is the bank where your
Okay.
mother was standing in front of, right?
Yeah, looks like the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
So,
How far do you go down here before you see another building that looks like a bank?
well, I was wondering if what this one was. Maybe it kind of
Okay.
looks like that's another brick building. 'Cause
Yeah.
It looks like brick, wood, maybe, and then brick, and then wood, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing the banks were brick and.
Okay, over here somewhere, I think there's a building still standing that was the lumber yard. It might be this one right here. No, it's a little too high. That one that's in Brentford by the elevators. I don't know why it's never been torn down. It was there when I was a kid, and it was part of the lumber yard. Somewhere, there were two bars, Cromer's. And then Pete Boss had a bar down a little further on.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, that guy that had the meat market was Gus something, and it was a foreign name. He was from Poland or someplace. So let's see what else. Somewhere would have been the telephone office up on the upper floor because my mother worked. She was a telephone operator when she got out of high school.
Now, and I noticed that B also had that for a while. You know?
Did you?
So did she have it before your mother then, probably?
Well, she was older, so maybe she did.
Your mother got out of high school in about, so she was born in 1900, right?
Yeah, so she would graduate in 1919, I think, or 18.
1918, probably. Okay.
She remembers there were also apartments in this building. And Jack Trudy and his wife, I can't remember her name, she's been gone so many years, so is he actually. But she remembers them fighting terribly, and she could hear him beating up on her, and his mother would get so upset, and she couldn't do anything about it, but she knew he was beating on
Huh.
her.
Is that Maynard Trudy's dad
Yeah.
then?
Yeah, his folks.
Okay. Huh. So, okay, the telephone office wasn't in one of the banks then. It was.
No, it was in another building with a part. I don't know if there was something on the ground floor. It wasn't the bar, I don't think. Maybe one. There was a grocery store down here.
Ah. Any idea how many years your mother worked at the telephone office?
Well, let's see. I don't even know when she got married. They never talked about their anniversary.
They didn't go out for candlelight dinners or anything, huh?
It wasn't a very sentimental occasion, I guess. But there was, I remember when this other grocery store closed, because they had the door open and you could go in and there was still stuff on the shelves. There were little cans like this of baking powder, and they didn't clean everything out, so you could go in and I think people kind of helped themselves to little sample stuff. I don't know. I just barely remember being in there.
So you were a young kid then? Or?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Real young, I'm sure.
Okay.
I have no idea who ran that.
So I imagine that would be the telephone.
Could be.
Pole
Yeah.
then, huh?
Right, yeah.
Well, see, it starts there, so I
Yeah.
wonder if the building, there's no more poles to the south, so I wonder if the
Yeah.
telephone office was like right in front of that building then.
Well, now, Mother said from the telephone office, okay, so the Congregational Church should be way over here somewhere. But she remembers
Be over here.
the day of Nettie Bohl's funeral, looking out the telephone office window and seeing people coming from every direction in buggy and on horseback and walking to come to the church for the funeral.
Okay.
So she could see all that from her window.
So did you go into Boss's parlor very often?
No, Marlos and I were pretty much restricted by our fathers as to where we got to go in town. I remember our dads were in Cromer's playing cards one day, and we went in. I don't know where we ever got the nerve, but we thought, well, if they can be in there, we can go in. Boy, they both glared at us, and we wanted money, and so they coughed it up as quick as they could to get rid of us. Yeah. And probably didn't get in. Well, I remember going to Pete Voss's place on Sunday. Oh, yeah, and then about here is where the Pete Jensens lived. Pete and
Esther?
And they lived up on the upper floor. I remember coming town, Dad liked to get the Minneapolis paper for a dime. You know, I don't know why he liked to read the news, but, and I remember one of the kids yelling for the other kids that were down here playing on the street to come up for dinner. We're having sardines. Big treat, I guess. Well, anyway, Dad spent. I took lessons from Vera Haven, who lived over here somewhere. Dad would always take me in or send me in for an ice cream cone. So I went in one day and I ordered a White House ice cream cone, cherries with nuts and really, you know. And he handed me a White Owl cigar. And I went out to the car. I didn't know what to do. And Dad, what are you doing with that? Get back in there and tell him you want. Oh.
That's funny. So Pete Jensen was the one who invited everybody up for sardines?
He what?
Did you say Pete Jensen invited the kids up for sardines?
Well, they lived up here.
Yeah.
And one of the kids were down here playing. One of the older kids yelled out the window and said, well, dinner's ready, we're having sardines.
Oh, one of the older kids, okay.
That stuck in my mind for some reason. I guess sardines didn't sound too good to me.
Yeah. Okay. I noticed in the Brentford Cemetery, Pete Boss's wife is buried there, but Pete isn't.
Pete isn't.
Or his name isn't on the stone. It just said wife of Pete Boss.
Isn't that strange?
But there was no stone for Pete
now,
that I could find.
He had a leg amputated when they quit in the bar and sold it to who'd to sell? Hugh LeBay maybe bought it next. But anyway, I think Pete was diabetic or something, so he didn't live too long after that surgery, I don't believe. Well, that's strange, isn't it?
It is.
Whether they just neglected to put the name on the stone.
Could be, but I mean,
they only had one child, Elizabeth, and she was gone so long, probably didn't care too much one way or another. I was thinking of this the other day for some reason that Gladys and Homer are Rondell, aren't they? But there are no other family members. Your family didn't choose to.
No, I mean, of course, Milt and Grace are up there.
Oh, okay.
Too, and my folks had a plot there.
Oh.
But then a few years ago, Dad decided to move it to Condé, and so we went up there. He had a stone and everything.
Oh, good.
And so we went up and moved the stone from Rondell to the Condé, and
so.
That was a long day's project.
Oh,
So
I bet.
That was a heavy stone.
Oh, I bet.
And,
Huh.
But, so yeah, I don't know. Dad just thought that probably the Condé Cemetery would be taken care of,
Better cared for.
Longer, but
yeah,
the Rondells.
I probably haven't been up there since Gladys's funeral. My mother said she went up there. Of course, she'd go decorate Gladys' grave or whatever, but she'd look. Just walk through the cemetery, and she said she had played for just about everybody there.
I believe it. Clyde and Nan have theirs.
Oh, really?
Graves there.
Oh, huh.
But Reese is buried in Condé. Reese and Hazel. Yeah, I wish I had an old picture of this block.
Yes. Because that would have been, I don't know if it was originally Ted Carlson's place of business, but he used that small building for it. And then the grocery store, and then the hardware store. And
then Orville Remley used that little building as an office.
Oh, did he?
For his gas station.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And then there was another little storage shed that Homer used. So yeah, there's that little building, then another little building, and then the grocery store. But it's funny, I can't find any pictures of Orville Remley's gas station. I can't really find any of the downtown like bars, like when I was in high school.
There was what had been my grandpa's store. I think Billy Mitchell bought that, and that was his filling station. Well, it was a filling station when Grandpa had the business there too. He sold machinery and tennis shoes.
Machinery and tennis shoes, huh?
Yeah, I think Russ has got the original sign from the store of a picture of a high top tennis shoe and an ad for. I think it was a kid's ad. Russ has got that.
And that was E.G. Bohl's store?
Yeah. He sold machinery, parts for, and he sold cream separators, De La Val. And then we got our shoes in there every year. They were the same styles year after year. So when my toes started sticking out the ends of my shoes, I'd get to go to Grandpa's and get another pair.
I'll be darned. And that was on the east side of the east side of the street.
Okay, and that building hasn't been going all that long. Like I say, it was Billy Mitchell's. He and Marge lived there for a while, and then they had the filling station part. Then, for a while, Don Reed and Levon and Mel and Marianne Schlott had a restaurant in there.
Okay. And that was the one Alden's had a restaurant there before that, right?
No. Who do you say?
Alden?
Alden, okay, maybe so.
Elmer?
Yeah.
Alden, I believe,
yeah.
when I was in the 60s.
Oh, it's way a long time ago, for sure. Then, I don't think it was anything after they closed it. I think it just was, I can't recall that anybody had anything there.
Okay. Yeah, it almost, Lauren Stuck remembered that they had a cafe there, and I'd forgotten about that. But,
yeah.
Okay.
They had a nice little restaurant going there, but I think Levon got cancer about then and couldn't help.
Oh, sure. So your grandpa's...
He was on the corner, and it wasn't a big building like this. It was kind of a one-story place, as I remember it.
This is about where Grandpa Stanley's hotel was, and that
okay,
burned
that
in 1909.
Yeah, the Illinois house.
Yep,
or whatever.
the Illinois house, right. Yeah, that would have, if this picture's from 1909 or sooner, which I think it is.
Look how barren it is.
Yep.
My goodness.
So I'm guessing one of these two buildings was his hotel.
Yeah. This one looks most like it, but well,
okay.
I'll be how bare it looks.
Yeah.
All the trees that have grown up since. And Mother's first memory of coming to Brantford as a kid, what was she, 4 years old or not even that old? So nothing but waving grass as far as the eye could see.
Oh, well, I suppose, yeah, because that would have been before the town was...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If she was 4, the town wouldn't even been built yet. So she must have... Because the town was built when she was 7.
Okay, but the Brantford Church was there, because they...
In 7. That was built in 1906 or 1906. Yeah. So she'd have been 6 then. So she probably went to school in the church then, because the church was the first...
Yeah, or an old wooden building. I think they moved an old building into town from somewhere.
Yep.
Somehow there's a connection to that house that Bob Stile lived in, the one that Arnold Mamie lived in, and and that used to be a schoolhouse or something, I think they said.
Yep.
My uncle Herman Bohl taught school or coached the athletics at the time they were building the new school, and he they did whatever they did in the church, because there wasn't a school at that time.
Do you remember when they moved the study hall upstairs and up into
Well, kind of, because it used to be just the auditorium, you know, and it wasn't ever used for anything except special programs and so forth. But I don't remember when we got moved up there.
Dad thought he was like maybe a sophomore. So I suppose then sophomore or junior when they moved from
Who was?
my dad.
Oh, your dad.
He thought he was a sophomore when they moved up,
Oh, yeah.
moved the study hall up to
Huh.
the auditorium.
He's pretty good at remembering things too, isn't he?
Some things, if he's not trying,
Oh.
but if he's trying to remember something, then he
Yeah.
can. But all of a sudden, the thoughts will just pop into his head, and so
Yeah.
then one thing sparks another. And
I had Polly and John Damask here for lunch one day, and then I had Helen Oberly, and I invited your folks. Marla sat here, and Leah was over there, and we got talking about Georgia Bowl, and I said what a beautiful woman she was, and beautiful voice, singing voice. I remember singing solos at the programs and so forth, and your dad was started remembering. He said that when he came to school, he'd never been off the farm yet. Only place he'd ever been was Condé, I think. He'd never been to Brentford. And so he said he was so bashful if a girl even looked at him, he turned beet red. And John and Polly thought that was pretty funny. They couldn't believe that. But anyway, he said that Georgia made a point of coming over and making him feel welcome, and that he was no different because he was a country kid.
okay, and I know he talked about Phyllis Spear
Oh,
also being real nice to him
Yeah.
and making him feel like he
yeah.
belonged there.
Belonged, yeah.
So. Yeah, well, that's how I came by my bashfulness then, because I was one of the most bashful kids in school when I was young
Hard to
too.
believe.
I know it's
Oh,
funny. But, I suppose Dad, maybe that's why he was always trying to make me perform in front of people, so I wouldn't be as bashful as he was. I don't know, but
maybe.
I
God.
never liked that when I was a kid. He was always
What
making
were you
me.
supposed to do?
He'd have me sing.
Oh,
Or if somebody came over to the house, then he'd
get
say,
up and sing.
"You want me to get up and sing?" And
Huh?
I didn't like that very much, but I suppose it probably helped me in the long run.
Huh.
But
One year, Aunt Bee took Grandpa up to visit his sister Nellie. She figured they'd never see each other again if she didn't make a special effort. Up into Minnesota, somewhere into the wilds of Minnesota.
oh really?
And I went along. She took me along to play with Anita. And so then I met Nellie, and I think Homer was her husband's name.
Yep, Homer Dickerson.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Homer Dickerson.
No.
Yeah, good memory.
Aunt Bee talked about the band Sickles quite a bit.
Yeah, I remember her talking about them. Yeah, and the Grays. I know I've still got hair from a lot of these. Yeah, Sarah way back. I mean, she's
Good grief.
born in 1838, and I still got clippings of her hair.
I guess they did that a lot then,
They
didn't
did.
they?
Yep, and then even braided it. Yeah, born in 1804. So, I mean, that's...
Boy.
And the hair looks just like it was cut yesterday.
Every year I've been wanting to go out and plant pansies on Grandma's gravesite because that was her favorite flower. Now this year I just really am going to do it. The problem is that you have to if it doesn't rain, you have to run out and water all the time. But I thought, now that's the least I can do. So I may actually get it done this year.
Well,
I know I ordered a lot of pansies from the kids, so
okay.
I always order more than I feel like planning.
It's not bad having your whole funeral expenses be $44. A little different from the $11,000 and $12,000 today.
Okay. What did Sharon say? She and Bob had their prepaid plans. I think it was $14,000 for the two of them. What a waste of money, you know. It seems like.
Yeah. And that's a bargain if they got both of them for 14.
Yeah, that was a few years ago.
Because Mom's was over 10,000, and John's now was over 11,000.
It's just a lot of money.
So, when you remember Grandma Stanley?
Oh yeah.
Was she in Brentford then or in Condé when?
Let's see. When I first met her, I think she lived in Condé. Then she went to Watertown to live with Aunt Hazel and Matt Crotty. And she would come out. I remember her probably the last time I saw her, she stayed at our house for a few days. And I can see her yet making an apple pie. We had a south window in the kitchen. Well, no, we had one of those old cupboard things, you know, where you crank the flour. What'd you call those? It just flew out of my mind. Anyway, she was making an apple pie, and her crust was just out of this world, you know. And then every slice went in a pattern, so you know she didn't just dump the apples and like I do. She just all in a pretty design, and her pie were to die for. But that's probably the last time I ever saw her. She was 90-something then, when she was visiting.
Okay. Yeah, because I think she took care of somebody over in Condé, didn't she?
Probably, but I can't remember that.
Seemed like it was a Pete somebody that she... Yeah, I don't remember Blanche really, but I remember Hazel real well.
Hazel was very pretty. She was, well, both, they were all kind of heavy.
Yeah.
Considering.
Yeah, Hazel was the heaviest, or the, yeah.
Aunt Hazel was especially heavy, but
yeah.
she worked in her later years. She worked for Herberger's in Watertown in the lingerie department.
Oh.
I believe it was called Herberger's then. I'm sure it was.
Okay. I just remember her working at the front desk in Bee's beauty shop.
Yeah, she worked there for a while. After Matt died, then Bee tried to see that she didn't have much of an income. And she lived in an apartment downtown Watertown with about 20 steps up from the street to the, I don't know how she did it.
Well, that's when Gladys lived
yes,
above.
I know.
That was about 20 steps.
Yep, right,
up
about
there,
the same
too.
thing.
She was living there my freshman year in college, and so on my way to Brookings, I would stop in and visit with her there.
Huh.
But I think this cook car.
Oh yeah.
That was my first home.
Oh, that's right.
I think we pulled it down to Esther's when the folks got.
I remember your folks living in it.
Yep, and then when I was born, in the summers, we lived there on Esther and Benny's in that cook car, and then the folks were going to SDSU then. And
I remember it being at Grandma's house. They kind of followed the threshing machine, and I always was supposed to help.
Okay. What did you do then? You helped cook?
Oh,
or?
probably waited on table and did dishes and stuff, but
out in the fields then?
the cook car sat in Grandma's yard, and then they must have come in from the field and ate their meal and went back out. Maybe another crew came in or something. A couple from Chicago, I think. What was their name? Their last name was Kettering. I don't remember. Charles Kettering, and I can't remember his wife's name. But they gave this on a handshake to Grandma and Grandpa Swim, this house. They moved to Chicago, and they just shook hands, and he said, well, it's yours as long as you need it. But when Charles and his wife died, their daughter, I can almost say it, it's not Ernestine, but anyway, she wrote them a letter, and I was at the house when they were talking about it, maybe the day they got the letter. And Grandma says, well, she says she can't live on beans. I can still see her, Grandpa. And that was the beginning of the end for them. They had to move. Oh God, I don't know her name. It doesn't matter, but I guess she gave them so long to get out. And so Bee came out, and Mother and Gladys, and they helped them pack, and they moved over, where am I? That way, on a farm owned by Frank Woodard. And Tom Scott lives in that house now. They moved it down, and he and his wife live in that house that sat there. And then Grandpa died, and Grandma moved to Brentford. But Bee said she never got over it, because they were in a hurry to move. She said the things we threw away that would have been so valuable, and she's such wonderful keepsakes. And she said we just tossed to get things done.
Okay, I was wondering if
Ursel, that's the lady's name.
Ursel Kettering, huh? Or well, I guess
Ursel Kettering was her name. And so my Grandma Swim and hated Harold and Alice all her life, who had nothing real. Well, they moved out there, and I suppose that was why they had to move, so Harold and Alice could move out there. So Grandma held that against them always.
Oh, darn. Well, there's a picture of you.
Yeah, I suppose, with glasses on.
There's Mom.
Yeah, I always tell her she's the...
Yep. She looks a little oriental.
Yeah, this looks like a Lois Carlson.
Oh, yep, you're right.
Probably Marion Tomshaw was.
Yep.
I was thinking the other day we were talking about this, how many fatherless children there were in Brantford when I was growing up. There was Gloria Crabtree and Mrs. Kate Stottrell had two daughters and no husband, and Tom Shaw, she had 2 or 3 kids, no man around, and I think they just came through working, picking up jobs, and got a woman pregnant and moved on.
Okay.
And the county kind of took care of them, I guess. In fact, Marion Tomshaw had the cutest snowsuit, and I couldn't get my dad to buy me one. I cried and cried, and he wouldn't send the Spiegel catalog and get me a snowsuit for $4.98. And Marion had a beautiful one, and she lived on the county. I just couldn't figure that out. Well, let's see. There's some...
That's Pat Mitchell.
Oh, yeah, sure enough. You know who that is? It looks like a little Peterson kid.
It is. Jim Peterson.
Oh, okay, Jim.
Yep.
And this tall guy?
Oh, I don't know. That's Jim. That's Uncle Jim.
Oh, okay.
And the tall one must be... Oh, don't know who that is. Well, unless it's Dale Peterson.
I was going to say it's Dale.
Yeah, Dale Peterson.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he had maybe diabetes, died in... Was even out of high school yet. Maybe just graduated. He was young when he died.
I guess that must be Rayford's.
I was going to say it's Rayford Stiles.
I don't know who it is you're looking at, the 2 kids you're looking at.
Grandma had a little notebook. And once in a while I just look in there to see what she... I'm always mystified by SIGs.
Oh.
And then she'd put the price and what date she bought these SIGs. And I thought, what in the heck? Well, one day I was coming to school and I thought I'd run into the kitchen and see Grandma And she whipped the cigarette out and put it behind her back. And I, oh no, my grandma? That's the first I knew of it.
Funny.
They had the neatest, she and Grandpa, machine for making cigarettes. It had, I wish I had it now. You put the paper in and the tobacco, and then you rolled it over like this, and it would roll up. And I would always make a few ahead, I thought, for Grandpa. And I'd find the machine in her bedroom, and I'd always take it back to Grandpa's room, thinking she mistakenly put it. And she finally put a stop to my making so many cigarettes ahead.
That's funny. How tall a machine was it? Do you remember? Is it, was it like...
It had a little ridged area here where you put the paper, and then, how did that work? You put the tobacco in, I think, and then there was a handle, went over a hump like this, and by the time it came down here, it was in a roll.
Huh.
I've never seen one like it in a antique place or anything. It's probably one of those things that got tossed when they moved. I don't know.
I'll have to look for
But
that.
I've never seen
sometime.
anything like it.
I've never heard of such a thing, so I didn't even know. But
Yeah, I can't remember. I can see the guy in that was printed on the tin, the brand of tobacco. I think this horse was Nellie, and Bob just loved riding down to Grandma and Grandpa's. They spoiled him rotten from day one. And Dad would always tell him when he left, now don't run that horse hard. He said, I don't want you coming back with, Grandpa will tell me if you, well, when he came back, the horse would be foaming at the mouth. And well, anyway, at Bob's service, they asked anybody wanted to say anything. Nobody did, so I said, well, I'm his only sister. I know a few things about him, and I told this story. So Val was sitting right here, and I said, Val, the horses sweat? And she said, yeah. So I said, okay. He was be foaming and sweating when Bob get back. No, I didn't ride him hard at all, Dad.
it was always a challenge to like Ralph. He was always so gruff. And then,
yeah.
But after,
He was had a drinking problem, of course, and most railroad men did, I guess, in those days. Uncle Matt Crotty was, they both, when they were off the train, they were drinking buddies.
Okay. What was it? Grandpa Swim died, and then Matt shot himself?
Grandpa Swim had, and my dad both had sleeping sickness, or whatever they called it in those days. And Grandpa just didn't make it. His heart was too weak. And so about the very next day, we got news that Uncle Matt had hung himself, And my dad is for crying out loud, couldn't he have waited a few, it just made it, everything so chaotic for the family. I remember Matt, and I don't remember Ralph so much, but I remember Matt would come through Brentford on the train, and he'd borrow a car or something, or Dad would go to town and get him, and he'd come out to the farm and they'd visit. And I would hide from him, because he always made over you, so, but he just emptied his pockets of money and give us kids everything he had. He was a good-hearted guy, yeah.
Huh.
They never had kids, but just one time I was in town with my dad, and he went in the hardware store, and I went in Homer's store, and there were bananas ripening in the window, and we never got fruit, and the temptation overcame me. I grabbed a banana and ran out. Of course, Homer saw me. He'd never seen anything. But I ate it and put the banana peeling under the seat of our old car. Well, I don't know. Then Dad went in the store, and Homer probably mentioned it, so it made me go in and say how sorry I was. Homer, of course, he didn't care one way or another, but he just wanted Dad to know I'd taken a banana. It would have reeked pretty good soon after that, because it was summertime.
Yeah, I wished I got to know Homer better.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, right. Neat guy. Yeah, it seemed like so many have died so young.
Yeah.
The other night, listening to the program, I thought how proud Cale would be of his grandkids if he could have been there.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Well, you've amazing amount of work, Rod.
Well, and I'm not done yet. I keep finding more stuff, and then, of
Do
course,
ya?
and then, well, then I can do so much more with the stuff I have now. You know, technology keeps improving, and but,
Well,
anyway.
I'm glad you like to do it. It makes it nice for the rest of us to enjoy the fruits of your labors.
Yeah, I pretty much enjoy it. There's no doubt about it. But I got so much stuff. I figure, well, boy, you know, I'm the last one in the last generation that's going to remember a lot of this stuff.
Getting that way, yeah, right.
So I figured it was my responsibility, I guess.